Hey, it's Laura.
It's Amanda.
And we are Moms on a Mission,
where faith, motherhood, and purpose come together.
We're not just raising children, we're raising disciples, striving to make an eternal impact in our homes and beyond.
Here, we choose grace over guilt, progress over perfection, and God's truth over the world's noise.
Together, we'll encourage, uplift, and equip one another to walk boldly in our calling as mothers on a mission.
So, grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and let's dive into this journey of faith-filled motherhood, one step, one prayer, and one mission at a time. Welcome back to Moms on a Mission. This is episode 8.
Number 8.
Can you believe it? We're coming up on 10.
I'm so excited.
Yes, me too. We've gotten some really, really great feedback.
We have gotten some excellent feedback, especially because we spoke on a topic that aired yesterday that was from some feedback, and I've already gotten some thumbs up on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And some thanks for covering this. And so I just think this next topic is going to be one that you and I have discussed a couple times, and we're ready to dive in now.
Yes, we are. This is a huge thing for me, and I think most mamas. Today, we are going to talk about tech and finding balance with kids and screens.
Welcome to our tech talk.
Yes. Episode 8, Moms on a Mission. This episode is brought to you by Stay Stoked Creative Co. We could not do this without our amazing producer. If you would like to know more about Stay Stoked Creative Co., you can find a link in the show notes below.
Yes, and as always, let's open with a prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this space and for this moment. We come to you as mothers on a mission. We're not perfect. We're not always put together, but we are fully dependent on you. Lord, guide our words, quiet our worries, and fill our hearts with grace today. Help us release guilt and embrace the calling you've placed on our lives to raise our children in truth, love, and purpose. May everything we share point back to you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, let's dive right into the wrestle and struggle that we have with our kids and technology.
Yes, this is a huge kind of pain point for me because I got 2 boys. They both love gaming, first of all, but my biggest issue is that one is very techie. He loves tech and he's really good at it. So I struggle really bad with finding balance between letting him learn and explore and do his tech thing and being a human boy.
And not a robot.
Yes.
Or a, iPad zombie.
Yes.
And I'm kind of one in the same. So my oldest, who turns 12 tomorrow, happy early birthday to him.
Happy birthday, Maddox.
By the time he hears this, though, he'll already be, 12. So he also likes to dabble in different things. And especially with me having a love of photography and editing and whatnot, he sits beside me and will kind of shadow or watch my workflow with things. And, that's still technology.
Mm-hmm.
He's not mindlessly watching YouTube videos or anything like that, but it's very much still a form of technology. And I do love that at the school that they're at, they don't utilize Chromebooks or really technology of any sort because he's considered lower school until next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think he'll maybe even get to take a laptop of his own for some stuff, but they don't have divvied out to all of the students.
Right.
So he still very much does a lot of handwritten work. And even throughout the year, he's done very little as far as reports go where he's had to sit down and type stuff out on his own. It's primarily handwritten.
Interesting.
Which I love.
Mm-hmm.
And they do things in cursive, which I feel like is almost kind of a lost art now.
Yeah.
But they require it. And so then I'm kind of wrestling over here with, well, he doesn't do this all day at school.
Right.
Should he have a little extra grace or a little extra leeway with getting to utilize everything? And Like I told you before, my kids call me the warden because I am hardcore with the rules and regulations when it comes to the technology.
Right.
Um, they don't get to utilize anything throughout the school week.
Ooh,
So if
okay.
it's a school night, it's no technology.
Okay.
I guess maybe the somewhat one exception to that would be on Monday nights when he comes home with his spelling list for the week and he
Mhm.
has to define all the words.
Right.
I will let him log on to webstersdictionary.com and define them that way.
Oh.
But that's it. And so I feel like I don't want to take it away altogether because there's definitely some pros to it.
Yes. Yep, for sure.
Probably, I might would even throw out that there's more pros than cons to it.
Yeah.
But like you, I don't want them to be, mindless scrollers.
Mhm.
If you're going to be on it, I want it to be for the good,
Right.
learning something, educational. I just don't want them to sit there and, binge rotten YouTube
Yeah.
videos.
Yes. Yes. So I have we have kind of similar situations where like my youngest, he likes games. He loves to play video games. He's not real into the, graphic design or things like that. He loves him some outdoor YouTube videos and he loves playing games.
Outdoor boys.
Yeah, yes, they love them.
They do love the outdoor boys.
And now we watch Kendall Gray.
Yes. Maddox loves Kendall Gray.
He's cool. I really do like him, but man, after a while, his voice, woo.
Now he is biblically based, though. He's at least a Christian.
Yes.
And he's one of the four. I have 5 channels that I will allow them to watch. And Kendall Gray makes the cut.
Yep.
The outdoor boys make the cut.
Mm-hmm.
Dude Perfect makes the cut.
They like them, but we don't watch it much.
No?
Mm-mm. No, I think that what they do is great.
Oh,
They
I
are
love 'em.
huge. They do big works.
Yes.
But yeah, we don't watch them very much.
Of course, I love it more because it's, sports stuff.
Yeah.
But they're a great group of guys, Christian guys.
Yeah.
And I do love that. So, I just think that, like you said, I don't want to cut it out altogether.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of the issue is like, so like at school, you had mentioned that your kids they're not on it very much. Mine are in public school and they get a laptop all day long.
They both do?
Both of them.
Okay.
By the time I think 3rd grade is when they really they get a laptop for most of their day. Now that doesn't mean that they're on it all day, but they do math games on it. They type reports. They turn things in. Abel is in 5th grade and they communicate through Google Classroom.
Oh, okay. Do they bring these home?
They do not bring them home.
Okay.
Mm-mm. No. If there's a special circumstance, they can. If they are like partially online students, they can as well. But a typical student in elementary doesn't take it home, but they use them all day long.
Okay.
And so, for me, it's like, okay, well, I know that you've been on the computer some during the day, and then you come home and they're not required to use a computer or even an internet connection for any of their homework. But there's still that factor. Like my oldest, up to about, maybe a few months ago, he was always like, I'm going to be an engineer. Now he's a little bit unsure because math's getting harder.
Ah, yes.
But he wanted to be an engineer. He also loves gaming. And he loves the side of YouTube that I despise. The stupid videos, the ones that are so obnoxious. He loves that stuff.
Yeah, I can't stand that either.
Oh man, it drives me crazy. So there's kind of this push and pull. So for me, I love to see them do it and I want them to learn it, especially my oldest who has that mind, but may not end up being, a structural engineer or, a computer engineer, anything like that. But he still has a heart for that. So if, there's coding, there's, video game engineering, there's so many other parts to it. Graphic design, he's actually really good at graphic design. And so he's been able to explore those things. He's been able to get on the computer and look around at them. You can even get a Google certification
Wow.
to learn basic tech with Google. Like, so there's some coding things, there's AI. You can, prompt engineering, things like that. There are actual certifications you can get on and learn. You're supposed to be 18, but like, let's say I signed up for it. He could sit there and watch it with me and learn it. So like, how cool is that?
That is awesome. Isn't there a option now where you can get like a degree in social media? Isn't
I'm
that a thing?
sure.
I
I'm
think it
sure.
is.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and there are big careers that go along with this. I mean, you're talking, especially as we move into the AI world, I know there's a lot of fear of like these are going to take a lot of jobs. And I agree with that. But I think there's also going to be jobs created because there
Yes.
has to be people that run them, that understand them, that repair them, that talk to them, and all of these things. Our kids are moving into this world. We're going to be, maybe stepping away or learning from a different perspective, but our kids are the ones that are going to be, looking at this stuff, trying to control it,
Yes.
trying to, make sure that they understand it, speak to it, create it. And so I don't want to take those things away from my kids. I want them to understand. I want them to know what the world they're getting into. I want them to understand it too, because I want them to be safe about it. I want them to know the good things and the bad. But I also want to see them outside and
Oh, yeah.
climbing and playing sports and building things and,
Being little
throwing.
boys.
Yes, I want them to have that as well. The problem with it is finding the balance because the screens are addicting.
Yep.
And so, and I find that in myself, I open it up, I open Facebook to make a post, and 45 minutes later, I'm like, what I open this for?
Yeah, guilty. And forever, I was anti TikTok.
Yeah.
And my friends would send me videos and share stuff. And I would just watch what they would send. And they were like, you really should make an account. And my answer to them at the time was, I waste enough time scrolling on stuff. I don't need another app to scroll on. And then I finally caved and I did it. And, most of my stuff is just recap adventures with the boys.
Yeah.
Whatever we've gone and done, a milestone, a holiday, something like that. And, sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I never did download it because I will find myself scrolling on it too.
Mm-hmm.
And between it, Facebook, and Instagram, I would hate to see my screen time
I know.
on a regular basis. It's probably terrible.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of it is work related.
Right.
Or it is related to whatever task that I've been given or have to complete or something. If I harp on them about their screen time,
Right.
I need to be mindful of mine as well.
Yes. Yeah. And, I have found myself sitting there with my phone in my hand while I'm, quote, working. And I really am working. I manage social media for multiple accounts of my own, as do you.
Yes.
When you have businesses, you want to have those social media accounts. You want to be reaching, eyeballs. You want people to know you're there. And so that typically comes along with having social media for your business. And that means having the phone for either editing it, posting it, creating it. So you've got a phone in your hand for all that
Responding
stuff.
to
Absolutely. Yes.
inquiries on it.
Yeah. Comments and, making sure, was there an event that was posted? All this kind of stuff. Then on top of it, I manage social media for a couple different other things, like my Mom Code group. That's something that I do for them as well. So there's a lot of this screen time for me that I, I'm like, let's quote,
It's
required.
Yeah.
I'm working. Yes. But how hard is that for my kid to see me with my phone in my hand? I'm scrolling. I'm obviously on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And I'm like, get off of that screen. And then I look back at my phone.
But you.
Yes. And that's what first of all, they know that it's a pain point for me. So they'll use it against me. And it is like, well, why are you doing it?
Yep.
Like, I'm like, go outside and play. They're like, okay, well, come outside with me. Well, okay, but hold on because I have to finish this thing that I was doing on my phone.
Yeah. And that's so real.
It is so hard to balance. And another issue for me too is that my kids do really well in school. They do great work. They never get in trouble. They earn rewards. Abel is involved with several things, student council, archery, things like that. They've got amazing grades. Their teachers have great things to say about them. And so what's the one thing that they really like to do and earn? Screen time.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I want to reward them for those things that they're doing. I want them to, know that I'm proud of them. I want them to have the things that they want to be rewarded with. Unfortunately, they want to be rewarded with screen time. And so when I say, no, we're not doing that tonight. Why? Well, because you don't need to be on that all the time. There's problems with that. I want you to play outside. I want you to do this or that. And then it's almost like a punishment.
But let me say to that, it's proof that maybe they're not overdoing it because they are still excelling in everything else.
Yeah.
So you haven't implemented it to the point where it's too much because grades are slipping or they're being disrespectful or getting reports back on their attitude, behavior, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think I think it's a good marker that they're not doing it too much.
Hopefully,
because I can see a change in their attitude when they have sat on it for a little too long.
Yeah.
And then get a little snarky or, a little short with me or something like that. And then at that point I'm like, okay, put it up.
Yeah.
We're done now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. My boys will start fighting. Like
yes.
they'll get off of it, but they, if it's like a weekend and they've been vegging out, immediately they start arguing. Like,
yep.
Oh, stop.
And then in the back of your mind, you're like, it was so much more peaceful when they were on it, but I don't want them on it.
I know. That's a huge problem, especially when they were younger.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, okay. Like there is some screaming and some yelling. I really need to get this done. Here's the iPad.
Yep. Which is basically today's version of a babysitter almost.
Mm-hmm.
Just, an in-house distraction. And I've done it too, which is why I think I did finally put my foot down and get so strict with the rules and regulations of it, was because I just think I felt like maybe it was too much, kind of a open border policy. And I was like, nope, this is what it's going to be from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also, when my kids are on anything, I make them wear blue light glasses.
Ooh.
Which at first they did not like at all. They could not stand it. And now I'm like, I'm just trying to do it to protect your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I see so many young kids now that have fairly thick glasses.
That's true.
Because they've just been in front of it, since they could walk.
Yeah.
And I do still, and probably always will, not love seeing like families out at restaurants and hand their kids something. Like, interact with your kids, have a conversation with them, play games on a napkin,
right.
Play tic-tac-toe on the kid menu that they hand you when you walk in, like, be present with them.
Right.
And so too, there's two things. At the dinner table, there's no technology allowed. And we still don't have to really worry about this yet. We do give Maddox some access to a cell phone, like for Wednesday nights when he goes to one way, so he can tell us when he's out, when he's done, we can pick him up. And he does take notes on it when Jacob preaches.
Yeah.
Because I've gone back and looked at him and read them, and he does. He
awesome.
Diligently takes notes with it. So he has access on Wednesday nights to it. And then anywhere else, it's emergency situation only.
Yeah.
It's absolutely never allowed in his bedroom. And the older he gets, that'll just remain the same. For lots of reasons, but we're not taking phones into the bedroom.
Oh, okay. I haven't really even thought about that yet. My kids don't have phones either. So we haven't really had to deal with a ton of the like specific rules.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
It's not going to be easy. They're not going to love it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And then two, we have in our bedroom, Josh and I have, it's called an RO box. I don't know if you've ever heard of an RO box.
Mm-mm.
I think it's got 4 slots because there are 4 of us.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, right now there's only, 2 of us that have a cell phone on a regular basis. That third one that Maddox uses pretty much stays in there. But it's a charging box, but it also it connects to an app on your phone. And you can almost make a game out of it to where who has their phone in the box the most.
Oh, man.
Because it tracks the time in. And you can set up a reward system, a game system, whatever. So whoever has their phone in the box the most at the end of the week, at the end of the month, whatever, it tracks it.
Oh.
And it's like time percentages, like how much your phone is actually down.
Oh, my chest is getting tired talking about this.
And so now we don't totally utilize it to its full extent by any means. We will most certainly as Maddox gets older and does get a little more access to his phone. And really, I mean, it's up to Josh and I to pave the way on that anyways.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's why my chest is tight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got to lead by example. And, talking about this thing with a few other people, they're like, but it's my alarm.
Yeah.
Then go buy an alarm clock.
Yeah.
How did we wake up before iPhones? We had an old school alarm.
My excuse is I'm always afraid someone because my parents don't live close. None of our parents live close. Matt and I both have two, our parents are both divorced. So there's 4 sets.
Yes.
And none of them are close. And my mom takes care of my grandfather. And so I'm always like, okay, everything else goes to do not disturb at 10 o'clock, but the actual ringing. And that's been like a fear of mine. Like somebody would need me in the night. But can I tell you how many times they've needed me in the night? None.
And you could turn the ringer on and turn it all the way up and just have it outside of your reach.
Yeah.
Because ours is like, it's just beyond the foot of the bed on a table. And so if I turn the ringer all the way up and just still put it inside the box to charge.
Yeah.
Somebody calls me in the middle of the night, I'm going to hear it.
Okay.
You could even still set your alarm there, which would force you to get up and out of the bed to turn it off.
I'm going to have to get a sleep number remote. How the fact that you can control those things on your phone is crazy to me. And it's a huge pain, but I don't have the remote. Anyways, that's totally off topic. So this kind of, like I said, this makes my chest tight because I don't know why, but I have heard studies that the further your phone is away from you as well, while, all day, every day, but, no physical contact with it, with your body, the further away you sleep from it, the better, just because of, the radiation and all of that stuff that goes along with that. So I love the idea, but like I said, this kind of causes me, isn't that ridiculous? Like, it's like this is my Snuggie. This is my little.
But it's
my passy.
I want people listening to know that we don't do this perfectly.
Yes, I know.
We're
but
speaking
still.
on it, but we do not have this down.
Yeah,
we're speaking. I mean, how many times have we said, "Oh, we're speaking to ourselves"?
Oh,
on this one?
Absolutely. Yes, totally. Yeah, I mean, we're all in the same boat, and everything changes so much all the time. I mean, think about how connected we really are with things at our home. I mean, our cameras, our doorbells, our, all of this stuff with the schools, the apps, the sports, there's everything is on my phone. I mean, I truly feel like it is a lifeline. And I'm getting to the point now, my boys don't carry a phone at all, but now they're getting to where they can venture out further. And let me tell you how panic I feel
all the time
when I cannot get them, like, if I'm like, I'll send them, I do this almost every day. I'm like, boys, go walk the dog. And they're like, oh, I don't want to walk the dog. I get them out the door, shove them out the door. They complain the whole way. They're, gone for 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, dear Lord, I hope they're okay. Yeah. Yep. I'm like, and I'm like, oh, I should have sent the phone with them. I wish I would have, I wish I could call them and say, hey, is everything okay? Because half the time they've stopped at the neighbors. Now they're in the woods. The dog is roaming around, like they're doing their own thing, which is great. I want them to do that. But then the other half of me is like, I wish I could call and make sure they're okay.
So we use, because same, especially here. And it's, it's 100 yards between here and Josh's parents' house. So it's not, I can literally watch them walk to their driveway. But anything around here, or for us, it's when we're camping. This is the main reason we bought these, was when we were camping. We bought these things called rapid radios.
Okay, like walkies?
Yes.
Yes.
And
those are helpful.
They are awesome, but they pick up across the country.
Whoa.
So they are linked to all 4 major cell phone network towers.
Oh.
So when we were here, we left one here and we took one with us to Missouri last summer just to test the distance. And we could talk on it from here or from Missouri to here with Josh's parents.
What?
And it's just a walkie-talkie.
How cool.
And so we send one with Maddox when he's at the campground so that he can keep in touch with us, or we tell him that it's time to eat, or, I walk over to where he was fishing last and he's not there because he's over at the house cleaning them. And so that's how we communicate when we're doing something or in different places. And I don't necessarily want him to have the phone. And so I would highly encourage you to look into them. They're awesome.
That is really cool because like one of the things we mentioned before we actually got started was that we that there's games on everything.
There's no games on the rapid radios.
I love that because there are, and I know like recently there's been some phones that come out, like I think maybe like Bark Phone and a couple other ones that say they don't have games. I have not looked at those at all.
I haven't either.
So
I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I can't either. They say there's nothing on them except like phone and text, and then you pick the people they can call and text. But I like, again, I haven't used it at all, so I don't know. But typically, if you get even one of those watch phones for kids, there's games on it. If any kind of smartphone, any kind of flip phone, they have games and things like that. I'm like, this
is setting them up for failure when you send them to school with it.
Yes,
because they're going to get distracted, they're going to play, and then they're going to get in trouble.
Yes, and they know it's there. It's like, oh, can I get on my watch? And I'm like, what? No. What? Why? What? Why would you even put that on there? That drives me so crazy. So to have an option like that it is truly, this is for us to communicate.
Yes.
That is really, really awesome because that is a huge problem when you think you're doing great and you're like, okay, I'm not going to get them a smartphone, but I still have a way to communicate. I still have a way to track them. God forbid something really, scary happen. They still have this tracker for as long as, someone allows it to be on their wrist or whatever. But then you come to find out, you see them and they're looking at their watch. We went through this with a couple different watches. I'm like, what are you doing? No, I'm just playing this little game. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No. And most of the time those watches are big and they're bulky and, there's other things that they have terrible service.
Yes.
So you thought that you bought this thing and you're like, I called you. And they're like, I didn't get a call. Yeah. So there's all these other issues with other things. So those walkies sound really cool.
Yeah, they're awesome.
We have like a camper caravan that we camp with. And I think our last camping trip, everybody put a walkie in their car. And that was cool because then, nobody was on their phone while they're driving up the Tennessee mountains trying to go on hairpin turns. We could still communicate. So that was really cool.
These things are almost like the old school Nextels were, if you remember those.
The Nextel chirp.
Yep, that's it. The next, hit me up. And that's what they're very similar to. And you can buy whatever. You can buy 4 of them.
Cool.
Somebody in your caravan can buy 4 of them. And then you can pair them to like your same channel.
Interesting.
So they're awesome. I would really suggest looking into them for your boys.
Yeah, we definitely need to do something like that because, and this is actually something that I have written on my notes and I heard it not too long ago and it kind of punched me in the gut because somebody I think it was kind of going back and forth online talking about what age do you think that your kid should have a phone? And honestly, we were thinking when our boys got into middle school, that's when they would get a phone. And then I saw this post and all these comments were like, 12, my kids had one since they were 10. My kid rides the bus, so they've had one since they were, 8, 10 years old, whatever. And then this one parent made a comment and said, the second they have the phone, childhood is over. Was that you?
That was my post.
Oh.
Yep. The moment that you hand your child a phone, you also close the chapter on their childhood.
Yes. And that took the air out of me because as much as I want to be able to track them and see them and communicate with them, you're totally right. They are immediately into adulthood because it's an adult thing.
Yep.
calling people, having everyone have access to you 24/7, having access to, even if oh, it's blocked or whatever, the videos that they have access to, even video chatting with other people that you don't necessarily know, even if they're kids and friends, it's still, there's a whole world that it starts to be created around this thing that they're communicating with. And I was like, oh my word, that is so true.
I remember reading it and thinking the exact same thing. And I love that even though he will be 12 tomorrow, he still has a lot of childhood left in him.
Yes.
And I think it's because we have just, not exposed him to all of this technology and adult things. I watched him run around in the yard the other day and hunt Easter eggs with his cousins and his brothers, and he was still so into it. He wasn't just doing it, to appease anybody. He was truly out there, like, trying to find the golden egg.
Right.
Yep. And I love that.
Ours too.
Love that. He's still got a lot of innocence to him, and I think it's just because we've done our best to make sure that he has truly experienced a childhood. Now, we don't live in a neighborhood here with a ton of kids. He can't go ride his bike over to a friend's house. And
sometimes that steals childhood, though.
Sometimes it
really does. Because when there is a lot of time when they're alone, especially when there's older siblings, there's other things. They, believe me, I was one that grew up in a neighborhood full of kids, and I had, I wasn't allowed. I was the only girl, so my grandparents and my mom were like, if they want to come here, that's fine. But there was a lot of downtime and a lot of alone time for those boys, and they were doing stuff that was not childhood stuff anymore. They rode a bike to do it. Yeah. But they were doing stuff that wasn't childhood stuff anymore. So that's not necessarily a super bad thing.
No. And it was something that we talked about moving into this neighborhood, knowing that most of the people that live in here, honestly, most of this neighborhood is comprised of people who are retired. There's a few kids in here. None of them are close to us. And they're really not even that close in age to my boys. So that was just one of the things that we knew buying and settling down here, was that, your childhood's going to look it's definitely going to look a little different than mine, because I grew up in the cookie cutter neighborhood with 50 kids on the street. And, for them, this is why we've got the garden outside, teaching them to garden. We've got the chickens. Now we do have the grandparents next door, which is a huge help as far as being able to have, somebody close by, somewhere to go, something to do. But as far as friends go, like, we have to be intentional with making plans and going and doing things. Or having them up here or going there. But this is not standard childhood. With all your buddies around.
Yeah.
It was just kind of one of the trade-offs of settling down here so we could be beside his parents.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to make a little disclaimer here. I want to make a comment, but if you have kids in the car, maybe turn it down for just a second. It's not bad. Just a parent thing. So my oldest, Abel, he came downstairs on Saturday. He had gotten him ready for bed and he came back downstairs. He said, "Can I ask you something?" I said, "Yeah." We were all standing in the kitchen. He said, "You think the Easter Bunny's going to come here tonight?" And, he's 11. The child has probably really technically actually known for a while. Yeah. But he wants to hold on to that part of being a kid. Yeah. And I love it. Yeah. And he doesn't want to ruin it for his brother. And I said, "I totally think so." And he was like, "Yeah, me too." And then he just went back upstairs.
That's awesome.
I was like, and I didn't want to dig into it. I didn't want to ask him. I know him. I know how he is. So I know that he either is deeply questioning or like, "Girl, you ain't got nobody fooled." But he's going along with it because he likes it. Yeah. He wants to be a kid. And it makes my heart happy because I wanted to grow up so fast when I was younger. I hated being told what to do. I hated not being able to go places I wanted to go. And then when I got that power, I was like, oh man,
Not what I was
this is
expecting.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, then you're like, oh, I got to make my own decisions. And then when you really start making big decisions and, then you start realizing, wow, okay, I wish somebody could be like, okay, I'll make that decision for you. You're not going.
Yeah. Well, have you ever heard the thing that's, it references the fact that you can look at your kids and wonder why they're not as mature as you were at the same age. And it's because they haven't endured the same trauma up to this point in their lives that you did.
Interesting.
I can definitely see it in mine.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, even with something as simple as a TV show, a cartoon, I'm like, you still like watching it at this age. And it's, it's because you've truly got to experience a great childhood.
Right.
Trauma-free. And so that was one of those like that really resonated with me. Was reading that or hearing that once upon a time. And it's true.
Yeah.
I do think that it's true.
Yeah. I definitely think I kind of, in my head, I think just like the word experience because y'all know psycho mama comes out sometimes. So my kids will tell you they probably got some trauma somewhere.
No.
But not the same. We haven't had the same experiences. And yeah, I mean, I like, kind of getting back to the technology conversation. I just thinking about taking that step for them. And so I have a really quick little story. We took the boys to a Striper game the other night, and in front of us, so we were sitting in the stands. And if you've never been to that stadium, it's really cool. It's small.
That's awesome.
And it is, there's not a bad seat in the house, really.
Nope.
And so like, even when you're up at the top, you're still fairly close, and so you get a really good view of everything. So we're sitting in these seats behind the dugout, and about 4 rows down in front of us, there's these teenage boys. And, but I mean, young teenagers, maybe 14, maybe 15. And the fireworks start every Friday. They do fireworks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
by the way, if you have not been, you should go.
They're amazing. Yeah. If you've never been, you need to go see them.
Oh my word. And the game is cheap. I mean, strap in if you come hungry because you're going to spend a small fortune, but the tickets and the experience it's not expensive, and it's a great time. Parking's great. Stadium's great.
Facilities beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a really, really cool experience. So anyway, we see these teenage boys. They're there. The fireworks are going on. They start recording on their phones. Well, so I'm getting their screen view because I'm behind them. And this one boy, he records, and I'm thinking, how cool, he recorded those fireworks for a long time. It wasn't like he was like doing a quick TikTok or whatever. He may have used it for it later, but he was just recording. He was enjoying it. And then he clicked the button on his phone, or the thing where it pulls up all the screens that you have open.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his video, of course. And then he had this video chat with this girl. And then he had a video game, and then like a search of, just an internet search or whatever that I could see because he kind of flicked it over. And I thought, I kind of thought to myself, that's kind of a shame because it looks just like mine. And I'm 40. I'm almost 40, and he's 14. Not only does he have this phone, which of course, if my kids were roaming around a ballpark, I'd want him to have a phone with them. But at the same time, he's been on this video chat with a girl, which is, there's part of that that's great. And then another part that's a huge burden.
Yeah.
And, and he's got this search up. He's played this other game, obviously, at some point during the day. And so that's, just another kind of distraction that obviously he was doing while he's still around him and his buddies. And, it was just kind of a realization of like, yeah, his screen looks just like mine.
Yep.
And I'm an adult, and he's a young kid. And it really drove that point home of like, yeah, it's going to steal it. When they get them, it's gone.
Yeah.
So,
and even more so, I think it's giving them a phone is one thing. Giving them social media access is going to change everything.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that.
You know what? That's a whole nother can of worms for me, because I use social media, and my kids enjoy it. And I I'm always like, why don't you make a channel? Why don't you, like record some videos if you want to do that, but on my side, I'm like, instead of watching a video, go make one. You know what I mean? But then there's that whole other part of, okay, yeah, sure. I made a channel and then I posted it. And then comes for some kids, the hell on earth.
Yeah.
The comments, the, scrutiny, the just nasty
negativity.
Yes. And I know there's such great, cool things. Look at the Outdoor Boys.
Yeah.
They've got this awesome channel. They travel. It has built a world for them that they may not have had access to otherwise as far as money goes.
Yeah. And Maddox aspires to do some sort of outdoor channel himself,
Mm-hmm.
Hunting and fishing related, that sort of content, which I'm okay with, just not yet.
Right.
And there's a big movement that's on social media that's called Wait Till 8th. Have you seen it? It's called Wait Till 8th, and it's really for a cell phone to be given to them. But that's the earliest. Of course, they're like, prolong it for as long as possible.
Right.
And I thought one of the greatest things was earlier this school year, I was doing one of my basketball shoots with the boys basketball team, specifically a senior. And I said, is there a certain pose or anything that you want to recreate or do? And he was like, no, I'm pretty open. Maybe hanging off the rim or something would be cool. And I was like, all right, cool. And I just naturally said, okay, pull out your phone real quick and go to this gentleman's social media page because this is who I've mentored from. And let's see if there's anything on there that you would like to recreate. And he just kind of looked at me like I had two heads. This is a senior. And he said, well, I don't have social media yet.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, what a breath of fresh air.
No kidding.
And he was like, I can't have it until I graduate. And I thought, kudos to your mama.
Where are his parents? We need his name. We're going to track his mother down. And
I know who it is now. And yes, absolutely kudos to them. And it was just like, it just rolled off the tongue for him. It caught me so off guard.
Wow.
Because here I am looking at a senior. I know the kid's got a phone. I know the kid's got a social media. And I was like, just pull this up real quick. Yeah. And he was like, I don't have that.
Man.
And he was not upset about it.
Yeah.
He didn't say, not one choice word about his mom not allowing him to have social media access. It was just the norm for him. He was like, I just don't have it yet.
Huh.
And I was like, yes.
Yes.
I want to be like that, Mom.
I love that.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a wow.
Yeah.
I'm in awe. How crazy is it that we are so shocked by that? Because I love it. I would love for that to be. I guess part of it for me is it's just a struggle because it's kind of, I say it's part of business and part of my workday and things like that. So how do I get rid of it without getting rid of it, kind of a thing?
Right. So, which one of our, one of the things that we spoke about before we started was even that technology is a tool and it's not the enemy.
Right.
It is how we use it that matters.
Man, I love that though.
And it's so important that we set boundaries and not bans because the access to it, the ability to quite literally, you and I we can work from our phone.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to report to an office.
Right.
We really don't have to do anything as far as being any one place in particular to do our job.
Right.
We can do it from the palm of our hand.
Yeah. Huge benefit. Yeah. And like you were saying, boundaries, but not bans. There again, I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm punishing my kids, but I also don't want them to turn into robots or zombies. So
it's a fine line.
Yes, there is a fine line, but it can be done. And, out of all the issues and the troubles that we've kind of kind of been in the middle of with the kids, there is we're trying to find some good balance. And one of those things is setting a boundary, which for us during the week is 30 minutes. You can have 30 minutes on it if you have time. You got to love baseball season or whatever kind of sport you're playing because there's not time.
No.
Especially if you got more than one kid, you're out somewhere. Here's another thing though, and I've tried to break it. For a while, one kid would bring their tablet or whatever to the baseball game. And they're like, well, I'm not playing. I'm like, yeah, but then it was stealing that outside time that they had. There's other kids walking around, around the fields, running around, throwing balls, hitting balls in the batting cage. Go find something to do, So we did take that away. Used to allow that. We don't anymore. So our kind of thing is, if you can find some time and everything else is done during the week, you can have the 30 minutes, but right now during busy season, it's rare. One thing I wrote on my notes, or that, I have on my notes that I really liked too, was that if you're going to allow it, is everything else done first?
Right.
So like, have you fed the dog? Have you walked the dog? Have you, are there dishes in the sink? That was one thing we implemented not too long ago that's been really cool. If there's dishes in my sink, you better not be on a screen.
That's right. I love that.
And that has been a cool tool because it's a huge help for me. And then at the same time, like it took us a minute, but after a while they were like, they're like, can we play? And then I'd see their eyes shift over to the sink. And then they just like, look, they just go over there and do it and get, they'd empty the dishwasher, put them back in. Then they'd be like, okay, now can we play?
Yeah.
Well, that was cool. It took us a while to get to that point, but that was very, very helpful for me. And then some of the other stuff is, of course, we have to model it ourselves. Ugh, that's a toughie.
Definitely easier said than done.
Yes. And then one other thing too that I thought was really cool is, do we have any tech-free zones like the dinner table?
Dinner table for sure.
That includes mom and dad.
Yes. It does.
Yes,
it does.
That is a big thing. No tech at the table. Maybe it's in the bedrooms, like you guys were saying, yours go in a box at night. Or like maybe on my notes, I have car rides. And that is one place where I'm kind of like, unless we're going through a pretty mountain scene and I'm like, get off of the phone and look outside.
Look at the mountains. Yeah. Car rides, road trips, going somewhere on vacation. That's kind of our all bets are off.
Yep.
You guys can watch, which they're pretty good about watching movies.
Mm-hmm. Do you have TVs in the car?
No, but we do give them each an iPad that has like access to Disney Plus,
right,
or something like that. So they'll typically watch a series of something on a longer car ride, because it really depends on where we're going to. Sometimes they don't have the internet access,
right,
especially up through the mountain areas, up to Pigeon Forge, that sort of stuff. You've just got such a long span of time without internet access. So Abel
will download a movie. He's like, yes. I'm downloading it before I get in there.
Yep. So they've learned.
Yep.
And then I just wanted to retouch on the fact that it's not about removing tech altogether, but learning to discern its proper time and place.
Yes. Yeah. It's not going away. We can try to shield our eyes from it and do all of the things of, hating it and being against it. But at the end of the day, they're going to use it at school and they're going to need it in their jobs. It's not going anywhere. We just have to teach them how to deal with it well. And that was another point that I had too, is if we've got to be open with them about it and say, hey, you know what? There's a lot of dangers on here. Mm-hmm. You have got to be aware so that what is a danger. Whether it be people reaching out to them and chatting, whether it be comments, negative things that are being said to them online, threats, all that stuff happens in private for kids. And there are so many kids that are affected really young by such horrible things, photos being sent to them, bad things being said about them. And if there was an open line of communication with anyone in their family, that stuff could be stopped immediately.
Yeah, because you can't unsee things.
Nope.
And if you don't think that they're going to be curious and, go looking for things or have them just shared to them without even asking for it,
right?
Ads and stuff like that, it's going to be there.
Mm-hmm. And yes, the ads are some of the biggest offenders.
The ads are the worst.
Yes.
And if you're new to social media, you better believe that the enemy is going to be trying to target you.
Really bad. Really, really bad. Even, everything, we all know everything is very sexually minded anyway, but now it's confusing sexually minded. Yes. And the ads are a big offender So yeah, I really think if we're going to, one big tip here is that one of the things of making it safe is to be open and honest. Hey, you're going to see this. You might see this. This is wrong. This is what you have to watch out for. And my kids will ask me too, well, why can't we? Why can't we get on there? Why can't we play for a little longer? And I've like laid it all out there. I'm like, well, because I say it's brain melting. And they're like, nah, we're learning stuff. I mean, they might be watching Mark Rober on YouTube.
Yep.
But I'm like, okay, well, you saw that. Now go do something like that yourself. Like there's got to be that mix of watching somebody do something and learning and then using your own hands
and trying to put it into practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, just being open and honest about the problems with it along with the benefits, I think is huge because they need to know that it's not, there's a lot of dangers, that there are freaky things that happen and people that can reach out to them that are not safe and, and how to handle it when it happens.
Yeah. Because it's going to happen.
Yep.
It's not if, it's when.
So we have a few Bible verses that kind of go along with this as well, which was kind of surprising to me because I had to look up like, okay, where does this come in the Bible? And I bet you if I did a little more digging, I could find some deeper ones too, just as far as, there's so much about raising kids and being family minded and disciplining children. There's so much in the Bible about that. But we were able to pull a few verses that, kind of skim the surface. And one of those was that I really like because it's really just overall is Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
Yes.
That's one big thing that we are, again, trying to talk truth to the kids. What you are watching and what you are consuming is what you are.
Yep.
It's what you become. Whether you like that or not, that is the truth. And, I'm like that with like even scary movies. They tear me up.
Oh, yeah.
They make me think of horrible things, so I don't watch them.
And, the boys have gotten to the point where when I pick them up from school in the afternoons, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, Maddox will ask me, which podcast did you listen to today?
Mm.
Or, what did you pick up from whoever today? He's almost got, I have like a podcast schedule of things that I listen to.
Yeah.
So I listen to, so many things on Mondays. I listen to other things on Tuesdays, and I just kind of have it throughout the week based on when they release.
Yeah.
I have one for every day of the week. And he knows that. And sometimes we'll re-listen to him together.
Oh, cool.
But there's kids Bible podcasts. So we might listen to an episode of that on the way to school in the morning or something, which I just think is all the extra, anything that I can put into their minds, especially in the mornings before our day is like really started and they walk into their classrooms. We could listen to country music on the way to school.
Oh, wait. My kids are the biggest offenders of that. They get in the shower, they say, "Hey, Google, play Morgan Wallen." I'm like,
No,
not first thing in the morning.
Nope.
We're about to count our blessings.
That's right. That's right. And then one of the other Bible verses that I had was it's Exodus 35, 31, and 32. And it's just a reminder that God gave us tools and knowledge to build and create. Even thinking back on like Noah's Ark and the Tower of Babel, the tabernacle craftsmanship, all of those things are detailed in the Bible. So again, these tools are not the enemy.
Right.
We just have to discern the proper use of them well.
Right. Yep. I have one last one. It is Romans 12:2. And that mama you told me about, she's doing this really, really good. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So it's real hard.
Amen to that.
It is really hard to see everybody around and say, well, they're doing that. And I mean, they're fine. Or, they think that's okay, or that must be okay, or whatever. But we as Christians are called to be something different.
Yeah.
And it's totally okay, but it's really hard.
Yeah. It's not easy, but it is worth it.
It totally is. All right. Well, I hope that this was helpful. And this, I had a mama tell us one time, she's like, she's got littles. She's like, my kids I just feel like they're on iPads all the time. I'm like, girl, let that go.
Yep.
You've got to control it. You have to be aware of it. But at the same time, just give yourself some grace. We are all going through it.
That's right.
All are dealing with it. We've all been like, oh my Lord, that kid's been on that iPad for 5 hours. Get off of there.
Yeah. Guilty.
And then other times, you're like, oh, this is awesome. They haven't been on there at all this week. We all go through the ups and downs. So
We do.
We're all there. We're all dealing with it. Hopefully this gives you some tips, some tricks, and some feelings of, you're not alone in this fight.
Yeah. And you're not a bad mom if you hand them something so that you can get a little bit of a break.
Yep. Amen. All right, let's close this one out in prayer. Lord, we thank you. We are just so very, very grateful for this time that we have together. We are so very grateful for all of the mamas and the families that are hopefully being able to hear from you through us. Lord, please just protect us all, shroud us, keep us safe, and let us all shine your light through us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, that wraps up episode 8.
Thanks for listening.
See you in the next one.
Be blessed.